Before we start, I just want to mention that I do feel very grateful for having a direct drive wheel and a racing rig with a VR headset in order to fully be immersed in Gran Turismo. But any game can be improved, and that doesn't mean that I'm not grateful for what they've provided us already. But here are my top 5 suggestions to improve the game. The first glitch we're going to show here is something that's been in the game since the beginning, and it's when you enter the pits, the only tires that are shown are the tires that you are using on the car as you pull in. So we're switching here to rain tires, and you can see them installing slicks. This is easy enough to fix in that you just change the animation to allow for 2 sets of tires, whatever you have and whatever is going on the car. So that way it shows more accurately what the car is going to be equipped with when you leave. And you can see here the car now has treaded tires for rain. And just quickly here again, you can see now that we have rain tires equipped. As we go into the pits, it shows rain tires being installed and removed, and we are selecting slicks, so this is not accurate. Now this isn't a huge problem, but when you're racing and you're kind of in the heat of things, you may not remember which tires you selected. So when you see those rain tires or those slick tires being installed, you don't have a really good indication of what is being put on the car until you break your way back out of the pits. Coming up next is when selecting fuel maps, they have it scaled from power, and then when you scale back it goes to lean. So that doesn't necessarily make sense. So power and lean aren't opposites. Power is getting the most power out of the engine, obviously, and then what they should be talking about is more range, so getting the most range out of your fuel. With the term lean, that's more about tuning the car, and it's getting the right air fuel mixture. So you have a lean ratio, which is lighter on fuel, and then you have the potential to go to a fat mixture or a rich mixture, which is giving you more fuel. But a lean mixture, if you switch into a situation like that on a turbo car, you can actually burn through your engine really quick, burn straight through the piston. It creates a really hot motor, and what they'll do is they'll actually usually add fuel to help cool the engine, and you may even reduce power, you may gain power. It doesn't necessarily correlate directly, but the terms don't go opposite each other, and it can almost be dangerous because you're teaching something the wrong way, and it should be power and range, not lean. Next is the wish list. So there are a few places you can add cars to your wish list, one being the brand central. You can also add vehicles through Legendary Motors as long as they have shown up in Legendary Motors, and the same thing with used cars. You can add cars into your wish list as long as the car is currently available in the used car market. There's also a area in the cafe where you can add any vehicles that you're missing on the extra menu, and that's all well and good, but there was a time due to a glitch that we lost access for months for the Escudo Pikes Peak car, as well as the T-Bucket from Ford. And this was something that they didn't really anticipate. They were trying to make the market populate based on people's desires and wishes, and that's a good idea, but the better alternative would be, or not even alternative, I would keep what they have, but I would also add in the ability to make those additions to your wish list right through the car collector's menu. So you've got that big menu that shows you which cars you're missing and which cars you have, and why not give you the option to add cars to your wish list right there? Because that's where I'm looking. The next two issues are more for the PlayStation VR 2 and using the virtual reality option in the game. So the first one is going to be that there are no delta times available in the headset. On the regular flat screen version, you can see off the menu on the top left will give you an idea of how far you are from the car in front of you and from the car behind you, as well as the total gap from the leader. And this is good information, so it's nice to have. When you switch to VR, you can see that list is gone. You don't have any option to see that anymore. And you do have things such as your fuel maps and the weather map, as well as your split time for your fastest lap and your current lap, but it doesn't show you the distance between you and your competitors out there. So you don't really know where you're at. And this is especially good information for any type of long distance race, like the 30-minute timed lap races, because there are times when you could just sit at the start finish line and not have to do another full lap, which at Le Mans is 4 minutes in most cases. So it's good information to have, and all they would really need to do is add that into one of those maps you can cycle through, because you don't need it all the time, but it would be good to have. I have seen people comment saying that this is supposed to be a simulator and more realistic, and you don't have that information in real life. But in all honesty, you do. Any type of professional racing or semi-professional racing even, they typically will have a spotter. And if you have a pit crew, you're going to have a spotter, and they will be communicating that information to you. Something a little bit more fun before we hit the last one is the rear view mirror on the center of some of the left-hand drive cars is actually angled towards the passenger side, and that's just kind of a glimpse into seeing how that they might be scanning the cars when they're doing this. Since it is a Japanese game, they're probably doing it from the passenger seat. The last thing we're missing in the VR option is for cars to have a updated tachometer. So you can see here on the flat screen, this is just a stock engine, but when the car redlines, it's been increased to accommodate for some of the high-end performance mods like the titanium parts. When you switch over to the VR, the only thing that you have to rely on is the in-dash tach. And it's not a big deal on this car, but I'm going to show you a side-by-side of this Alpha 4C with the Italia engine swapped into it. With this swap, the 4C's dash and cluster doesn't accommodate the red line of the Italia engine. The Italia shifts around like 11,000 RPM, and the tach on the 4C ends up only peaking at 7. So there's no way to really gauge where you're at in the engine RPM. And with the price that you're going to be putting into these cars in order to actually do these swaps, there's no way that any builder would do this without having some way of reading what's going on with the engine. So they have things, you could do something like a shift light, using that menu again to just have a little gauge there, even if it's just that little bar going across like they have in the flat screen version. But some kind of indicator for when to shift would be crucial in making this a better option with engine swaps. If you've made it this far in the video, I'm also grateful for you, and please like and subscribe so you don't miss any future content.